Hello everyone, you're now with me for the Nightline. The rabies situation in Sibu is increasingly alarming as almost half of taken samples tested positive for the virus. This was raised by Assistant Minister of Public Health and Housing Sarawak, Dr. Anwar Rapai.
According to him, out of 104 samples taken at random so far, 50 of them were found to be rabies positive, while a high number of bite incidents and captures of stray dog were recorded for the first 10 months of this year. Anwar added the Sibu Rural District Council SRDC and Kanawit District Council KDC had captured 470 and 70 stray dogs respectively. Meanwhile, for dog bite incidents, SRDC recorded 47 cases, while KDC recorded 90 cases. Dr. Anwar said so far 3 rabies deaths had been recorded in Sibu and that awareness programs needed to be intensified to keep the public updated on the current situation of the disease.
The Malaysian Meteorological Department, METMALAYSIA, has issued a yellow weather alert for 9 districts in Sarawak. Wind speeds of up to 50 kilometers per hour and ocean waves reaching up to 3.5 meters are expected.
According to METMALAYSIA's Sarawak Director Ambun Dindang, the 9 districts are Kuching, Serian, Samarahan, Sri Aman, Betong, Sarike, Sibu, Muka and Bintulu. However, what is more worrying is the high tide phenomenon that also occurred today. With regards to that, he urged the public to always be vigilant in situations such as this and to ensure important documents and goods are stored in a safe location.
Dan apa yang kita risau ialah kerana air pasang besar juga berlaku pada hari ini, iaitu dengan ketinggian 5.5 meter. Dan ini kalau berlaku hujan lebat memang akan menyebabkan limpahan air sungai lah. Dan amaran cuaca ini telah kita keluarkan semalam sebenarnya untuk 9 bahagian di Sarawak. Okey, jadi untuk semasa musim monsun timur laut ini memang kita tahu ialah keadaan cuaca agak lembap dan banyak hujan yang turun terutamanya bahagian barat Sarawak.
The Royal Malaysian Police PDRM has been asked to reconsider its intention to reduce the percentage of officers and members among Sarawakians serving in their home state. Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS Secretary General Datuk Sri Alexander Nanta Ligi urged the police top management in Bukit Aman to reconsider its decision. The 30% reduction of Sarawakian personnel serving in the state is a substantial number which might cause some anxiety among affected personnel as well as their families. Nanta, in a statement, said it creates uncertainty in the community itself because records show that no problems or issues involving the security forces in Sarawak have arisen before. The Kapit MP was commenting on a statement by the Police PDRM Director of Management, Datuk Ramli Din, during his working visit to the state on November 20th. Ramli was reported to have said that the 70% of police personnel in the state were Sarawakians. Because of that, Ramli was reported to have said that police would consider reducing the numbers to about 40% in stages, including in Sabah. However, Nanta said he had no intention of interfering in the administrative affairs of the police or the Ministry of Home Affairs. He added that an explanation was necessary to avoid negative perceptions or sentiments among Sarawakians. Ziarah Kami program continues despite the COVID-19 pandemic, just that this time it was done virtually. Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, said such program intends to constantly assist the needy.
Nancy, who is also Batang Sarong Assemblywoman, said the assistance previously were delivered to house, but a different approach was implemented this time in view of the current situation in maintaining health and safety. According to Nancy, various efforts have been made to improve the program, including the distribution of assistance and the involvement of relevant agencies, to which the follow-up actions are taken in categorizing the target groups to prevent dropout issues. Through this initiative, she hopes for the number of recipients in the Batang Sadong constituency will decrease once the problems at the grassroots are solved. The program, she said, served as a platform to see the condition of residents in the area and become a channel to deliver continuous contributions.
As a form of appreciation towards the contributions of Sarawakian artists, the National Film Development Corporation, FINAS, through the Committee for Industry Members' Affairs, Welfare and Industry Data, is continuing the FINAS Prihatin 2.0 program with creative industry players by assisting 5 more artists in the state.
According to the chairman of the Sarawak Film Industry Development Committee, Dato' Nurhayati Muhammad Ismail, the program is not only intended to commemorate and appreciate the sacrifices of artists and veteran actors in Sarawak, it is also intended to ease the burden of those affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Jadi kita alhamdulillah harapan kita dengan adanya walaupun sedikit ya kita melaksanakan program ini untuk membantu dalam keadaan COVID ini, tapi pada masa yang sama kita harap untuk dapat membantu untuk mereka meneruskan kelangsungan mereka ya untuk meneruskan whatever day lah dengan kemudahan-kemudahan dan kita bagi.
In connection to that, veteran artists of various backgrounds have also received a donation of 1,000 ringgit from FINAS.
Seluruh Malaysia ya, tiap-tiap yang menerima 1,000 ya. Kan seorang. Ya. Seorang. 1,000 seorang dan lepas tu adalah yang sampingan kita kata tadi barang-barang dari strategic partners yang jadi dia lebih dari 1,000 lah. Tapi bagi kita FINAS itu tanggungjawab CSR FINAS ya, tanggungjawab kita untuk membantu dalam keadaan sekarang lah, dan juga seperti saya kata tadi untuk mengeratkan silaturahim kita bersama penggiat-penggiat seni di negeri Sarawak.
Meanwhile, for actor and comedian Dato' Yebni Adnan, who first started out as a stage actor, his interest in the arts industry started to deepen when he collaborated with the late Tan Sri P. Ramlee, Amran Tompel, Ibrahim Pendek, and a lot more national artists. He added working as a comedian is not easy, and so criticism and advice must be embraced to build self-confidence in the creative industry.
Masa kini saya berlawak bukanlah seperti lawak hanya untuk orang yang nyuruh gelak saja. Lawak saya berlainan sedikit. Ada satu masalah, nasihat, kritikan, teguran, mula membina.
In 2017, Yet Adnan was awarded the Panglima Setia Bintang Sarawak Medal that brings with it the title of Dato', received during the anniversary celebration of Tuan Yang Terutama Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Tun Pehin Sri Haji Abdul Taib Mahmud.
Right, welcome back. Today marks the 3rd consecutive day of 0 COVID-19 cases in Sarawak, in which the total number in the state is maintained at 1,062.
Sarawak Disaster Management Committee SDMC in a statement said Sarawak also recorded no new recovery and discharge cases today. 23 COVID-19 patients are still being isolated and treated, with 20 being warded in Sarawak General Hospital, SGH, 2 in Sibu Hospital and 1 in Miri Hospital. As there have been no new cases today, the committee said 6 clusters remained active in the state, namely the Besi cluster with 12 cases recorded, Jalan Abel cluster with 15 cases, Baki cluster with 33, Suladah cluster with 9, Green Hill cluster with 91 and Wisma Saberkas cluster with 44. The committee added the districts of Kuching and Miri are still classified as yellow zones, recording 12 and 3 cases respectively, while 38 other Sarawak districts are green zones. Meanwhile, the number of new positive COVID-19 cases throughout Malaysia today stands at 1,309, with 3 new deaths reported. The Malaysian Ministry of Health in its daily COVID-19 update today said the 3 deaths were reported from Perak, Negeri Sembilan and Sabah, one of them being a foreigner. Meanwhile, a total of 1,333 COVID-19 patients have recovered today, increasing the number of recovery cases throughout Malaysia to 52,647.
In an effort to curb the spread of COVID-19, Malaysians are reminded to adhere to COVID-19 standard operating procedures, SOPs, when attending events or gatherings at public areas. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said this was because the new clusters recorded today were mostly the result of social gatherings that saw people flouting the SOPs.
Dr. Noor Hisham in a statement said the Angkor cluster in Perak and Indah Mas cluster in Kuala Lumpur and Selangor were sparked by infections among the community at family gatherings. The same goes to the Inai and Jambul clusters in Sabah, which recorded infections that broke out during a certain celebration. Meanwhile, Mentari cluster in Selangor, Negeri Sembilan and Kuala Lumpur originated from religious ceremonies. Dr. Noor Hisham pointed out that physical distancing would be hard to practice in confined and crowded spaces and urged the public to take the SOP measures seriously. He explained that the COVID-19 virus is transmitted through respiratory droplets from individuals coughing, sneezing and talking, as well as being in close contact with one another. The risk of infection will be higher if the physical distance between an individual and another is less than 1 meter.
Fail to comply with stipulated SOPs throughout the CMCO, and companies will face immediate revocations of operating permits as well as legal action. Such was the warning given by Minister of International Trade and Industry, Dato' Sri Muhammad AZMIN Ali.
Muhammad AZMIN said his ministry had issued a letter regarding the Standard Operating Procedures SOPs compliance order to 171 associations and chambers of business on November 26. The letter read that if companies were found to have flouted the SOPs and not cooperate with the Ministry of Health (MOH), the government would take action to shut down the premises and factories under Section 18, Subsection 1, Subsection D of the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, Act 342. He added industry players had a role to play towards curbing the spread of COVID-19 and not just putting the burden solely on the government. He said as industries rake in huge profits, they too must contribute towards efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19 among the workforce, especially foreign workers.
Welcome back. The proposed formation of a presidential council comprising party chiefs of Perikatan Nasional reflects Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's inclusive leadership. This was said by PN Information Chief Dato' Sri Muhammad AZMIN Ali, who added that Muhyiddin's open leadership is also exemplified by his call for Malay Muslim leaders to unite under one big coalition.
AZMIN said these moves were aimed at creating a strong and stable government which could give the best service possible to the people, especially when the country is focused on efforts to fight the COVID-19 pandemic and revive the economy. AZMIN added Muhyiddin had met with Barisan Nasional Chairman Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi to discuss how the two parties can place the country's and people's interests above those of political groups. AZMIN further said it is important for all political parties supportive of government policies to be grouped under a more organized and structured coalition to strengthen unity for the sake of the people and country. Yesterday, Muhyiddin in his police address at the Bersatu Annual General Assembly said it would be good for all Malay Muslims leaders to be grouped under a major alliance to create stability in Malaysia instead of being split in small factions. Muhyiddin also said the national political crisis earlier this year had strengthened ties among the leadership of Bersatu, UMNO and PAS under a common platform, and that this could be regarded as an early step for achieving greater unity among the Malays. Muhammad AZMIN, who is International Trade and Industry Minister, said Bersatu and PN had clear objectives in their struggles, and this was proven with their acceptance by the people in the recent Sabah state election.
Not a politician and not keen to become one, banker turned finance minister Tengku Datuk Sri ZAFRUL Tengku Abdul Aziz is steadfast in remaining a technocrat and ensuring that lives and livelihood in the country are safeguarded amid the health pandemic.
Ya. Yalah, bagi saya memang tak ada benchmark lah kerana saya bukan ahli politik dan saya ini kali pertama saya membentangkan belanjawan 2021 pada 6 November semasa budget speech itu, dan pada hari Khamis yang lepas menggulung belanjawan 2021. Di sini this is COVID-19 budget budget for survival dengan resilience. Saya bermula dengan isu rakyat. Jadi pada masa itu fokusnya pada isu rakyat kerana belanjawan ini mengutamakan kelangsungan kehidupan rakyat.
Malaysia's economy showed signs of recovery with a contractions of negative 2.7% for the third quarter of 2020 compared with negative 17.1% in the second quarter, as it took the brunt of the 7 weeks of Movement Control Order MCO starting March 18th that was imposed to stop the spread of COVID-19. Tengku ZAFRUL was sworn in as a senator on March 10, 2020, following his appointment as the finance minister. The government eased the movement control order restrictions on May 4th, and businesses were allowed to resume operations by sectors with strict standard operating procedures (SOPs). Following this, the unemployment rate declined to 4.6% in September from 5.3% in May this year. Various economic stimulus packages were also announced, namely Prihatin, which is Prihatin Rakyat Economic Stimulus Package, Prihatin SME Plus, Penjana for National Economic Recovery Plan, and Kita Prihatin for Prihatin Supplementary Initiative Package, worth a total of 305 billion ringgit thus far. Coming from the corporate world, Tengku ZAFRUL recently received a brickbat when he announced several new initiatives during his Budget 2021 winding-up speech, which is unprecedented. On his defence, perhaps extraordinary time calls for extraordinary measures and approach. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission (MCMC) will provide very small aperture terminal or VSAT technology in Kampung GUSI, Ranau, Sabah. In a statement today, MCMC said the effort had received support from Common Tower Technologies Sdn Bhd or CTT, a state-backed company which is a subsidiary of Warisan Harta Sabah Sdn Bhd, as part of the company's corporate social responsibility.
The statement said MCMC sympathized with the students from the village who reportedly fell from a broken bridge while trying to get better internet connectivity to follow online lessons. It added CTT General Manager Lau Chun Ming had confirmed that the installation of the VSAT would be carried out by December 15th. In addition, 3 telecommunication towers will be built near Kampung GUSI under the National Digital Infrastructure Plan, or JENDELA. The locations have been stated in the tender document issued by MCMC on November 20th. Meanwhile, MCMC advised all students not to endanger themselves in search of internet access.
Parts of Australia, including Sydney, sweltered through the hottest November night on record, with temperatures likely to stay high, prompting authorities to issue a total fire ban. Temperatures are expected to cross 40 degrees for a second straight day on Sunday.
Sydney's Central Business District surpassed 40 degrees Celsius on Saturday. New South Wales, South Australia and Northern Victoria baked through even higher temperatures nearing 45 degrees. The Australia's Bureau of Meteorology has predicted a 5 or 6 day heat wave for parts of northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland. The predictions for soaring temperatures prompted the Australian energy market operator AEMO to say demand may exceed supply in New South Wales. Australia has been experiencing hotter and longer summers, with the last season being dubbed Black Summer by Prime Minister Scott Morrison. It is the result of unusually prolonged and intense bushfires that burned nearly 12 million hectares, killed 33 people and an estimated 1 billion animals.
A car bombing in the Afghanistan's central province of Ghazni killed at least 30 Afghan security force members. However, officials said casualties could increase given the intensity and location of the blast. Bas Muhammad Hamad, director of the provincial hospital in Ghazni, said 30 bodies and 24 injured people had been transported there. He said all of the victims are security personnel. Local officials said the blast targeted a compound of the Public Protection Force, a wing of the Afghan security forces. It damaged civilian residences around the compound, and there could be more casualties from there. Interior Ministry spokesman Tariq Aryan confirmed that there had been a car bomb blast but did not provide further information on the target or possible casualties. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack. Violence in the country, at war for 2 decades, remains unacceptably high. Foreign governments and institutions say, calling for an immediate ceasefire between the Afghan government and Taliban. Another bombing in the eastern province of Sibu, targeting a top provincial official, killed at least 1 person and injured 23. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack on Haq Bayan, an outspoken critic of the Taliban. Well, that's all from me, Ruben Gomez, for the Nightline. Remember, tomorrow 5 p.m. with Shira Abang Manso. Once again, signing off, Ruben Gomez, anytime, anywhere.